Objections, you already know this is On the Block with Jen, but I'm adding a new segment with my good friend, Talk with Frank Gooden. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you guys are here following me from part one of Objections on Frank Gooden's page, Talk with Frank Gooden. We just had an amazing episode one. We debuted Objections today. The episode was amazing. It was too short. You guys were asking for more. This is where you get more. We'll be going back and forth between our channels and covering lots of hot topics and a lot of gender issues, this, that, and the third. There's going to be a lot going on that we're going to discuss. So hopefully all you guys went from that page over here, but I just want you to know objections will be going forward. And we're going to be covering a lot of topics, but the juicy part is this will be a debate show. It is a debate show. We're not just going to be kicking it here. We're going to be debating really hard, tough topics that are not easy to talk about all the time. And you guys are welcome to object. You can call in and be on the panel and object to either myself or to Frank. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to get in. I'm seeing you guys come in from Frank's show, so I'm happy to see you. And we're going to jump right into this. But first, okay, no further ado, I have to let Frank introduce himself.
Hey, Frank Gooden here from Talk with Frank Gooden. So glad to be over here on your channel for part two. Jen, it looks like I might have took the L on my own channel with the first debate. I'm always right, but I don't know why all these people want to say I'm wrong. But, you know, I'm so happy to see if I can recover on this next one. And I'm just really excited. This is a real good thing that we're doing together. And, so just glad to be here.
Okay, welcome, Frank. I'm excited about objections. And just to explain what Frank is talking about, that he took an L, you guys can vote in the comments while we're discussing things. You can say who you agree with, either myself or Frank. Either way, no hard feelings. We just want to know how you feel about the subject. And please do not be afraid to join us on the panel. We want to hear from you, right? Because although I'm always right and Frank is always right, you may be right too. So please welcome on to the show. Let's jump right into it. We just discussed the COVID vaccine on Talk with Frank. If you want to know what the first objection show was about and you want to check it out, and then check this one out as well. So here today we are going to discuss, let me throw it up here. It's here somewhere.
Take your time.
Okay, here we go. This is today's topic. I know we have some strong opinions about this. I have mine as well. You let me know what you guys think. Frank, I will hand it over to you, or do you want me to start?
You know what? I like how you want to go. If you want me to go, I'll jump in. If you want to take it, then I can let you take it. Either way is good.
I'll start it because mine is short and sweet. You know me. You always compliment me about having nuanced explanations. But there are certain subjects where I'm just like, look, man, it is as black and white as my background. Okay? It is what it is. But again, guys, feel free to object. I will love to hear your opinions. So let's just jump right into this. Living together before marriage. I don't know where you would fall, right? And religion has a lot to do with your opinions, even though you don't think so. A lot of us have been conditioned by religion, and sometimes we just feel the way we feel. We think it's because that's how we feel, but we forget we've been conditioned by beliefs of our parents and grandparents, etc., etc. So let me tell you how I feel about living together before marriage. It is a must. If you don't live together before marriage, you are crazy. Okay? That is my opinion, short and sweet. It is imperative. As you guys know or don't know, I am not a religious person. In certain circles, they've labeled me an atheist, but I think my spirit and my belief, and we'll get into religion another day, right? As far as my personal feelings. But wherever you stand, some people call me atheist, some people call me crazy, but I'm not a religious person. So I have no opinions that are preformed because of something in the Bible or something my mother or my grandmother taught me. And they were religious, for the record. My family is religious. I am not. So I'm coming clean slate. This is what I've seen. This is what I've experienced. This is what I feel. This is what the divorce rate says. I am saying it is imperative to live with the person that you're going to give a forever to before marriage. You are nuts if you don't. Okay. Now, fairy tales are really, really nice. Guy meets girl, guy proposes, they get married and have 2.5 kids and live happily ever after. No. Okay. You have to live together and you have to understand that people change. I'm a different person than I was yesterday. So are you. So is Frank. Right? People change. Every 10 years, we do big changes, big psychological, mental, physical changes. So it's very important that you live with somebody, get to know them, the ins and outs. People are so different. You're talking about two adults that are set in their ways, have their own habits. I mean, to the point where some people put their dishes put their dishes away differently than you do. Some people make the bed differently than you do. So to avoid a lot of arguing and bickering and things that could break down a marriage over time, I suggest you find out before you say, I do. And I will end it there, although I have more to add. Okay. We can talk about 50% of the people that get married get divorced in America, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to hand it over to Frank and ask him, what do you think about being together before marriage?
So, you know what? And I'm going to be quick about it too, because I'm one of those people that I have to talk. Now, I do have a nuanced argument, but real talk. I'm one of those people that comes with my opinion on it prejudged or pre-done, because I come at it from the Christian background, so my mind was made up for me on this one, by, for me, the authority, for me. And so I'm going to say that coming from that perspective, no, 1,000 times no. And it's from that perspective. It's from, and it's because, and it's funny, and I'm not going to preach, but I'll put one Bible verse in here that I find in that. Because you already know where I'm coming from anyway. You said your family is religious, and more than likely they probably come from a Christian background or something real similar. So I'm going to go to Hebrews 13:4, which says, and there's a lot of them. So let me, but before I do that, so the issue with living together before marriage is it's not necessarily about the living together before marriage part. It's that it's setting you up for sin in the form of fornication. And that's what the Bible is saying. Fornication, which is sexual activity outside of marriage, is a sin. And so, if somehow you're talking about a platonic relationship where that kind of thing is at play, then, maybe not. But just coming from the biblical perspective, God comes down on it. He's very, very clear about fornication. There is a verse that I'm going to read here, Hebrews 13:4. Marriage should be honored by everyone, and husband and wife should keep their marriage pure. God will judge as guilty those who take part in sexual sins. That's Hebrews 13:4. And so, without even having to get all deep with it, many people who come from the Christian background, they're gonna, the Bible says to flee from fornication. The Bible says, a number of things on that subject. So, we know that we need not put ourselves in that kind of situation. Now, I understand, and this is where I'm going to pivot fast and then throw it back to you. I understand if we take that out, so my standpoint, I'm telling you right now, no, we shouldn't. Now, if I make a mistake and do it, that's another thing. Should we or should we not? The Bible says we shouldn't. But if we take that out, and unfortunately, from my perspective, we live in a world where so many people are taking God out of the equation, and now you're looking at it from the natural, then, okay, you have to look at it from pros and cons. There are people get together and they decide that they want to shack up or live together before marriage, a lot of times for financial reasons. That's probably going to be one of your arguments that, hey, one household decreases the bills and it sets you up to be able to do some things. That's a pro. A con to that, and this is where I'm going to throw it back to you, is that, okay, yeah, you might, get together and you might come together, and there might be an advantage in bringing the financial side together, but it might be at the cost of sort of this volitional side of giving care and affection, because now you live with the person and you might be exposed. You're forced to be with them now, and that might have an effect on whether or not you even get married or stay together, because now it's a whole nother situation. Anybody who's had a roommate knows, whether or not it's, knows that the situation is completely different, and there might be a con, that might be a cost. So I'll stop there.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you don't think people should have sex before marriage. You think they should get married, right? And then they find out, I kind of don't like you. You're already locked in with your vows. So you think it's okay to be locked in with someone you don't really dig because you took vows with them?
You shouldn't lock in with them if you don't really dig them. And that's the society that we live in. Like the way we kind of look at it, and I hear you loud and clear, especially as a man, and I'm a good and grown. I'm not necessarily trying to be out here, marrying somebody where I feel like I don't have, the sexual chemistry. We grown folks, we can talk about this in an adult way. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge, what God says is the right way. And so the right way, according to God, is if you're going to decide to marry somebody, then you are deciding no matter what, without that knowledge, that the two of you are going to be together, and you better make a good decision as best you can and make sure you like this person in all other ways. Because once you do it, you're stuck. But this is the kind of thing that you do, and you meet somebody in 2 weeks and go to Vegas and get married. You should be a little bit more contemplative about it.
Okay, so interesting.
Right?
Do you think, right? Now, I'm not religious at all, right? But I like the Bible stories, same way I like Harry Potter and Shakespeare, right? I think Othello is a great lesson on life, okay? There are a lot of little fairy tales out there that, wow, if you apply them, like if you apply Othello to your life, or Romeo and Juliet to your life, or things like that, the 12th Night, you learn a lot about life. That's the same way I see the Bible. No, respectfully to anybody, right. Really respectfully.
I think it's funny, but I hear you. Go ahead.
I go to the Bible and say, wow, that Job story hits. You know what I mean? That Cain and Abel story hits. When you think about sibling rivalry, I just don't take them literally. I think it's dangerous to take them literally. Also, although I think the Bible has really good stories that would work perfectly for certain people, I think it's unrealistic to think that one book, right, can effectively guide billions of people and it work out. I think it's unrealistic. I think it's dangerous. And I think that's why the divorce rate is as high as it is, because people are going into it like, all I have to do is marry you and take vows of forever, and I could put up with whatever. But then your humanness kicks in, and you're with somebody and you don't even like how this guy chooses cereal. You don't like how messy she leaves the bathroom. Right? And we all have deal breakers. And some people might be like, that's not a big deal, how he eats his cereal. But some people have pet peeves and deal breakers because of their life experiences that they're coming with. So that's the only thing I don't like about the Bible, that it's such a blanket expectation for everyone. And I think it's unrealistic. I don't think there's anything in life that anyone does without getting to know the situation. We assess everything. When we're trying to get a job, how much am I going to get paid? How long do I have to be here? When are my vacation days? But right up front, right? There is nothing we do. I'm going to go bungee jumping. How far am I going to fall? Do you guys have good reviews? I want to go to a restaurant. All right. What's the staff like? Is it going to be a good, you know what I mean? We don't go into anything. Why on earth would we go into a forever with another human being because someone wrote it in a book 1,000,000 years ago?
You know what? I object to your comments about the Bible and your whole take on it. But you know what? I look forward to setting up some topics. We need to, you and I, we're early in this. We're gonna do some exploration. We're gonna go back and forth about
Okay, I
topics.
see some people backstage, and you know me, I'm like this. So if you don't have anything else to say right now, I'd love to bring some people
No,
in.
let's do it. No, let's, if you want to bring them in, let's do it.
We're gonna bring them in. And again, guys, I didn't give you all the rules and situations in the beginning, but if you go to Frank's page, Talk with Frank Gooden, he'll break down the rules in episode 1 of this show, Objections. Everybody, please be respectful of each other. If you cannot, unfortunately, we have to move you or remove you or mute you. And I don't want to do that because I want to hear everybody's opinion. And we're all grown and sexy. We can respect each other even if we disagree passionately. I promise that's how I will handle your opinions. And I just want a little reciprocity. Okay? So guys, again, welcome. And we have backstage big time drum. Hey, Mike. And Patrice is back. Hey. Good to see you. So I'm going to bring you both up, and you're going to be on a clock, just so you know, just like on Frank's page, okay? So I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes. Hey, guys, welcome.
Hi.
Hey.
Welcome. Glad to see you here. So glad to see you here.
And I'm old-fashioned, so ladies first, Mike, okay? We're going to go first.
Thank you. Listen, Frank.
Oh, get that clock up.
I love you,
Keep
brother.
coming at me. Get that clock up.
Oh, what a tangle web we weave, Frank. Listen, I grew up Christian as well. I grew up in the Baptist church, Christian all the way. I still believe in the word of God, but the flesh is weak.
Amen.
Again, I think right now I'm going to have to agree with my girl Jen, because at some point, listen, we live in a real world here, and we all are sinners. So is it fair to say that living together before marriage is a sin? According to the word, yes. But is it also a sin to be sexually involved with your mate before you get married? Yes, it is. And for the most part, we're doing that even before we live together. Are we not?
It's happening. You're right.
So, you got to look at all around the board when it comes to those things. So I'm just going to say shortly right now, I have to agree with Jen. I got married. I was married for 10 years. And of course, we were sexually active before we even moved in together. And we got engaged, and then we moved in together. And I'm glad we did, because it did help me learn so many things that, I didn't like about my ex, right? So I had to okay, what's my absolute deal breakers here, right? Which he didn't have anything major, but he used to do little stuff that irritated the crap out of me. Like I'd go to the bathroom and the seat lid be up, and I sit on the cold rim of the bathroom. It just get to me. But things like that. But I agree with Jen, because you just can't look at it one way.
Give me my 60 seconds. And I won't need 2 minutes, but let me say, first of all, Patrice, I find what you're saying reasonable, and really we agree. I feel you 100%. There's really nothing I can disagree with what you said. I guess the point I want to make on it is that here's the deal, and you know this as a fellow believer. I feel like I have to actually make sure that, coming from my perspective, I'm going to at least tell it. I got to state it. I'm not going to act like, and I'm sure you're not either, going to act like somehow the decision from my Christian background is the right decision. I'm not going to have a reprobate mind and act like that I know or I feel like that's the right thing to do. I'm going to acknowledge that it's a sin in terms of fornication, or setting yourself up to be in a position to engage in sexual sin. I'm going to call it for what it is. So I agree with you. And realistically, like you said, the flesh is weak. And that's something that if we are tempted, we going to have to, handle that with God. Get in there and ask for forgiveness and ask for grace. And if he decides to do it, God is sovereign. He'll do that. But here's the reason, with my last 30 seconds, here's why. We should probably get into a little bit about why. It's not just the commandment. It's we can acknowledge some of the consequences. What happens is for the people who decide that they want to live together, what if that doesn't work out? And what if they're sexually active? And what if they get pregnant? And then what if they split up? Now you got a single mom in a less than ideal situation. It's not a family, it's a broken home. And we all know how left that can go. And that's just one area. My time's up now. I can go into others. But when we examine it, there are reasons why, when we think about it, God will have us take a certain path.
Patrice, do you want to respond to that?
Just shortly, yeah, I agree, and I understand what you're saying too. But at the same time, we can't pick and choose the sins we want to commit and not commit. You know what I mean?
We do that all the time.
Exactly, but we do it all the time. But I'm saying that's not right either. So it's like, okay, well, I'll do the sex thing, but I won't do the live together thing, or I'll do the, you know what I mean? So it's like I said, I grew up religious, but I like to say I'm spiritual now because I don't belong to any church. I just had, I just stepped away from that when I saw all the hypocrisy of that. But I still have a personal relationship with God. So I do, for the most part, still try to do the best I can to be the best human being I can, according to the word that I was raised off of, according to his word. But I'm not perfect. The flesh is weak. So I'm not going to sit up here and say that I don't still sin.
And I'm not going to act like I'm perfect either, sister. I'm with you 100%.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Mike, who do you object with? What is your objection?
Well, unfortunately, I am going to object with Frank without prejudice, and let me explain why. Okay?
Y'all killing me. Go ahead.
But without prejudice, I'll explain why.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let me preface something, and this is whether you're religious, you're spiritual, or whatever, we all fall short of the glory, right? That's number one. Number two, here's why I object without prejudice, because I'm gonna flip it a different way since we're kind of going on the subject of about sex and da 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 da. Let's flip it a different way, right? Let's say, Frank, that you have been with a woman for, I don't know, about a year. Next year, you decide to get married. And of course, you both have the same outlook as, okay, we're only going to live together when we're married. So in between the 2 years, you've lived apart. But, even though you know enough about each other, but you don't know about each other day to day in terms of what it's going to be like, or shall we say, you really have no idea of what that person's going to be like when they get married. So, okay, boom, you get married, and come to find out that she's very controlling. And for you, that's a huge deal breaker. And guess what? You've already tied that knot. So the fact that you've tied that knot, of course, your, natural thinking is, I need to try to make this work. But if there comes a point where it's a deal breaker, that's where Jen's point becomes valid by saying, if had you lived with this woman, you would have found that out from the get-go before marrying her.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you.
How did I do?
That was awesome.
So, Frank, do you want to respond to that?
I'll only say you guys you're making that valid point, and that's the real deal. You stuck like Chuck. You're in a situation where you are locked in, or you're gonna break that covenant. You're gonna break that vow, one or the other, and neither is a position that you want. That's not a decision you want to make either way. So I feel you. We live in a fallen world, and when you fall so far away from how God intended, then these kinds of situations can come up. The world that we live in, it's so funny how things are a little bit, the world didn't used to be how it is now. 100 years ago, even further back, it's a different world. You guys are making good points, and I see why you object. I feel
So
you. I
let me ask you this,
argue
Frank.
with.
Okay, I'm gonna go personal, you guys. I'm
All
gonna
right.
go personal. Okay. I think that sex isn't big enough on the list of things that you need, right, to be compatible with someone. And let me explain why. And I'm gonna go personal. I'm gonna tell you about my personal life. You all
I
ears?
agree. I've been there.
Okay. I was
I've
in
been
a
there.
relationship for 3 years with a man that had ED. For those of you that don't know what ED is, it's erectile dysfunction.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
3 years had ED. Now, the reason why it lasted so long was because he was one of the most amazing men I had ever met. Okay, perfect gentleman, excellent provider, had all his ducks in a row, didn't have baby mamas, had a great job, and all of that was so important to me that I said, okay, so the sex isn't going to be fireworks every time. But he had so much, other things going on that were amazing that I was able to put up with it. And that taught me a lesson. That taught me, like, okay, so sex is important. Don't get me wrong. If you got somebody that you're seeing fireworks with, rock with them if they have other good qualities. But my point is that I went through that and it taught me a tough lesson where it's like, okay, it's not that important. So I think it's more important to find out if you are compatible with somebody, to go through thick and thin with them, than penetration. Because at the end of the day, it's penetration. Right? So when you put them on a scale, penetration, oh, let's not do that, it's a sin. And you put all the other stuff. Am I going to pay bills with this guy? Do I get along with him? Do I like his family? Do I like how he looks? Do I like how he smells? Is he a good communicator? That's a lot heavier than penetration in my opinion. After I went through that, I was like, whoa, reality, reality hits. So that's it. Also, as far as sins, I'm with Patrice again, where it's like you can't pick and choose, because prior to you meeting your fiance and saying we can't have sex before marriage, what about the people you were dating? Were you celibate? Were you abstaining?
Hey, shout out to Reginald Roberts. Reginald says, ED guys in the chat have no choice but to be perfect everywhere else. Shout out to Reggie.
Maybe Reg is right, but he was perfect everywhere else. He was.
Let me ask you something.
May I interject something? Since you went personal, my ex-son. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. My ex-son-in-law, my ex-husband's son, got married before we did. Him and his fiance, did the whole thing, got a house, everything. Do you know they woke up 6 months later and decided that they didn't want to be married, and they got an annulment? After the big wedding, all the gifts, all the money spent, bought the house, in 6 months, they realized that they didn't want to be married. And they could have just lived together for 6 months and realized that. True story.
Yeah.
True story. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So yeah, that's why I'm like, yeah, I need to live. We need to live together.
Okay. I see where you're coming from.
I think that happens more than not. I think it happens more than not. I'm not anti-religion. I'm just not religious, but I'm not anti-religion. I see why and how it's useful and beneficial for a lot of people, but I just think certain things in there, they're not realistic and can jam you later just because you read a verse. What was it, Frank? Hebrews what?
13:4.
There you go. That verse will get you chopped.
I'm gonna let you have that. I ain't gonna even go there with you.
That verse again, guys. If you want to join us, please feel free to come on in backstage, and I will let you on. I am about to throw the StreamYard link up there again. Thank you so much for joining us and rocking with us and leaving all the funny comments. I'm kind of catching them on the side. They are funny. Someone asked how old was he? I forgot that. It was 33. So he was like he was young for ED. I thought he was 30.
Oh yeah, that is young. I experienced that too, though, Jen. I experienced it too. It shocked me.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. No pun intended. It's hard.
Yeah, see, ladies don't appreciate that, y'all. Y'all remember that. Ladies ain't feeling that too much.
It says not to deal with. Okay, guys. So if there aren't any other objections, I want to. This is a great segue. Patrice said about she knows two people, a couple that got married. 6 months later, it was over after the wedding and the bells and whistles. Great segue because the next topic is. Let me grab my banner here. The next topic is actually. Is marriage played out in this country? Is marriage in general played out? Considering that 50% of the marriages or more end up in divorce. That's a lot of divorces. So, is it played out and are people getting trapped by tradition and religion? Is marriage in general played out?
I
What's
don't think
the
so.
Frank?
So I'll jump in. I feel like it's not yet, but it's on life support. So we getting close. Because there's so many reasons why people, we live in this independent society right now. So many of us are like this, on our phones. It's instant gratification. It's all about self. We live in a situation where, in terms of the equality, which of course they deserve, the ladies are earning, and in many cases, out earning financially the guys. And so, one of the reasons why typically there would be marriage is because back in the day, the wife would depend on the husband for support while the wife, took care of the family and in the house. All those things are changing. Those dynamics are changing. Um, so if it's not played out, it's sure looking like it's on life support.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with you, Frank. We're agreeing.
What?
I'm agree with you because we live in a just add water society. It's instant gratification, like you said. People are getting married now just to show they got married on Instagram. That's how pathetic the covenant of marriage has become. People are getting married because there are companies endorsing marriages and wanting you to use their napkins and their plates and their venue. Back in the day, women had to marry to survive and to eat, right? And to bear children. Certain countries still have arranged marriages. But like you said, in this country in particular, women are out earning men, right? We don't need a man anymore. We don't need one. We want one. Well, some women still need men or feel like they need men because they want to live a certain lifestyle, but you don't need them, right? I'm not saying that's necessarily a good or bad thing, whatever side you stand on, but it's not before where it's like you don't get married, you die, right? You will starve out here. You'll grow old and be an old maid and all of that. And it's funny because that's still the narrative that's trying to be pushed in the YouTube streets, as you know, like you're not married, right? But I think it is getting played out. I think gender roles have changed, drastically. And women are more like, no, I don't want to. I don't have to. I can just, date when I feel like it. So I have to agree with that. Do we have any objections on the
I have
panel?
an objection.
Okay, let me get the clack.
All right, go for it.
Let me get the clack on you. Okay. It's here somewhere.
Here we go.
Okay, so my objection to what you're saying is, if what you're saying ultimately is true, then it would seem to me that on a whole, or if you want to look at it from a percentile perspective in terms of, what's the majority versus the minority, most women on a whole would say they want to get married because of the security that comes with it. Okay? And just to give you a reference, if you look at Kevin Samuel's videos, and he asked the one question, you'll notice every one of those women ultimately all say the same thing.
What do
When
they
he
say?
asks the same question, do you want to get married? They say, yeah. And what's the next question? It's about money. It's security. You know what I'm saying? So it's not played out. I think what's going on is it's just marriage in the USA. I think people are becoming more jaded, but it's not played out because, again, just like, with, for example, you have certain religious practices that they still follow that. Like for example, in the Muslim religion, you know, there's no such thing as dating. You know, you meet someone, you get with them, you get married. That's how it is. You know, and there are other religions, that kind of follow the same. If you meet someone, the purpose is to get married. So I don't think it's played out 100%. I just think, it's still happening, but maybe not as fluid.
Okay, so does anybody have any objections to what Mike said? If not, I'm going to bring in another guest.
I do real
Um,
quick. Oh, go ahead, Patrice. Go ahead.
no, I just wanted to say we have to remember that this is a numbers game as well, right? And especially in the black and brown community where the women outnumber the men 4-1. Okay, so there's a shortage in our men because of mass incarceration and drugs and alcohol abuse, things of that nature is the reason why play a major role in that, as well as men and women that lead alternative lifestyles. So you gotta all of that comes into play is the reason why we're not getting married as much. I'm more traditional and old school. I believe in it, but you got people that are now living the poly life. They rather do that than to get married. And I hear a lot of younger generations say they don't want to get married. And it's just a lot of guys are not marrying black and brown women. And now what is happening is they're broadening their horizons and they're actually dating outside of the race. So you have to think about that because black men date more outside the race than black women do. Black women are more race loyal. But now you got all of these different alternatives and objectives that's going on that is bearing on, the whole marriage and the institution of marriage and what that stands for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Vaughn, welcome. Am I saying your name correctly? Vaughn, can you hear us? Am I saying your name correctly? Hey,
Oh, hold on a second.
hi.
Yeah.
Vaughn in the house.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome, Vaughn.
Oh, okay. Good. Good. Good to be
Good
on
to
the
see you,
show.
Vaughn.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. Is marriage played out in this country? Well, I believe that it is played out to some, but there's a lot who hold it dear. There's a lot of people who value marriage. Marriage is like they say, an institution. It's a business, but then it's also when you get together with the person that you love and you decide to be with that person for the rest of your life. You know, I know the prior discussion that you live together when you before you get married. I don't know if I could speak on that because I know you changed the subject. Can I speak on that or should I
Yes,
stick with this
yes.
subject?
Hmm. Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, to be honest, when I knew my wife was my wife, and when I knew it, and that was before that we had sex or even got married or lived together. I knew that she was my wife. And I'm sure that a lot of people probably can't relate to that because they feel like you have all these different types of stipulations on you to where, well, you have to see how the sex is first. You have to see, oh, can she cook or what kind of, this and that. It was just like I knew at the time, and it wasn't like love at first sight. We worked together. We worked in an environment together for a period of time, and I grew to know her that way. But at the same time, I do believe what Frank is saying that, I was taught in a Christian fashion that, you don't shack up. That's just not what you do. You get married first and you get married before you have sex. Now, I didn't do any of those things. I went against all of the things that I was raised and believed in. But at the same time, it doesn't make it right because I did it. And I don't know if I can get that point across. We did when I knew she was my wife, and I fell on hard times, and we both got together, and we started living together. And in my mind, I said, "Well, she's my wife." Oh, my time is up. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
All good.
I'm gonna have to really look at this clock next time because I wasn't even paying attention to it. So please forgive me.
No worries, no worries. We welcome your objections. I want to respond to that. I have to say that you had an advantage, Vaughn. You worked with her for a long time, and you got to know her, and you got to see her every single day. I'm sure on her good days and on her bad days. That's
Yes.
something that we don't have just initially meeting somebody and then hey, no sex and then marriage. So I think you're speaking from, you have a perspective where you got to know somebody. I think that's great. I think the key is to, however you do it, get to know them before. I just prefer living together first or shacking up, as people say, because that's when you know somebody intimately, right? Like I said, there are little things that can go on that may be deal breakers for you. And I don't want to risk an entire reception and a wedding dress and fittings and tuxedos and food and flying my aunt in from Puerto Rico. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Frank, do you have anything for Vaughn?
Not. I think we actually agree. And I feel you 100%. But that what he's talking about is just having that understanding that hey, you know what, this is how I was raised, and deep down I know it's right. But whether or not you make that right decision is another thing because it's influenced by so many things, including the practicality, and that's where you're coming from, the practicality of the situation. In terms of living together before marriage. The practicality of the situation is part of the reason why it seems like marriage is on life support because all these things are going on. People are seeing marriage differently. They're waiting to get married. One of the facts that I wanted to bring up was that in 4 years ago, so we have to get some more recent stuff, but I'm sure it hasn't changed too much over the years. The average age of marriage, the average age was 38 years old for men and 35 for women. If that's not telling you that people are changing their mind about it, and really, really deciding whether or not want to get into it, that's one thing. But then the other side of it is when they do get married, and for those that get a divorce, and we know the divorce rate is high, another reason why it's on life support is because people like me who I'm divorced, half of us, the statistic is 45% say that we'll never get married again after divorce. Now, I don't feel that way personally, but that's what 45% of the people who have been married and have gotten divorced say. So it's on life support, and I don't want it to be on life support.
Would you like to share? Did you abstain before your marriage?
No, so I was one too. I had to pray for some forgiveness. I'm not going to.
See what I mean, Jen? See the hypocrisy for me.
I gotta be real, right? I can tell it, and I'm not gonna even act like I told you, Patrice. I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect. I said that earlier. Yeah, I didn't abstain. No, I didn't.
Wow.
And I pray forgiveness, and I pray God forgives me on that. And
Frank was a heathen at one time. Wow.
Okay, gotta be real.
But this is my thing. Are we as older adults that have been married, and just because we may have had a bad experience in marriage, I'm not saying all of us or whatever. I didn't, but are we encouraging the younger generation to marry? Are we encouraging that?
Oh,
you might have to mute Vaughn. I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Patrice.
No, I was just saying us as an older generation, like, are we encouraging our children, the younger generation, to get married and explaining to them what the institution of marriage means and how, you pass your seed on and generations, and generation wealth and everything that institution stand for? Like, are we encouraging the young lady to not become single mothers and the young men to not, stick and move in everything that moves, and they really should find one woman that they love when they're ready and settle down and get married? Are we really encouraging that on our children?
My question to that.
I want to respond to that because I'm not, I'm not the girl that's going to throw the parade for marriage, right? I still believe in it. I think it's a beautiful thing when it works. I am not anti-marriage. So speaking of what are we teaching our children, I teach my daughter the benefits of marriage. I teach her the benefits of doing it right, but I also am telling her the reality of it and how you have to get to know somebody and how you have to stick through thick and thin. You know what I mean? It's not a, it's not like life on Instagram, or if you don't like something, you keep scrolling or block it. So I mean, that's my part in it. That's what I'm doing as far as the younger generations. Marriage is a beautiful thing when it works financially, emotionally, spiritually for the family. I think there should be two parents in the home. But I'm also giving her that dose of reality. I don't like the emptiness of just like, well, God said, because it's so empty in my opinion. It's like you have to give them the reality, the finances, the economics, the family structure.
Absolutely.
You have to
Absolutely,
give
I agree.
the reality of it. You have to. It's like you kind of leave them hanging.
Well,
And
I want to say something so bad.
especially when you're like Frank, when you talk about it, but you don't do it yourself.
That's right.
I'm
Wow.
gonna let you
You have
live
to kind
that
of call me
down.
out. See what she doing?
Okay.
Wow.
I want
She got an objection.
But don't you think, for the most part, right? To your
Hold on,
point,
let me
Patrice.
hold on, because I don't want us to go crazy. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So to your point, Patrice, I just want to ask this. Actually, I'm going to ask everyone on the panel this question. That to your point, Patrice, that don't you think it's really up to parents, to really drive that message about marriage than the streets or anybody else? Because, since you're talking about the younger generation, I mean, you know, can't nobody raise you better than your own parent, or at least that's the way it's supposed to be. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, as parents, are we, talking to our children about the institution of marriage and what that means and what that looks like and being real with them, because the first thing they're going to say to you, especially if you are divorced, is, well, why you and daddy got divorced, or why you and whatever. And
Right.
you have to explain that reality side of, hey, sometimes people grow apart, things happen, someone may have been unfaithful. You have to be real. I believe in being real with children, especially when they of age of accountability, where they can understand and comprehend. But when they're young adults, 21 or 25 and older, which is where your brain is fully developed to comprehend and understand, you just have to be real and talk to your children in that manner. Say, that, just because it happened with me and your dad doesn't mean it will happen for you. If you follow certain rules and standards, then you should have a long, healthy, happy marriage. Hopefully nothing will happen. But guess what? If it does, you have to be real about those things and how you address it.
Thank you so much for sharing that clock, Mike and Patrice.
Yeah,
You guys shared the clock before
that's
this
what's up.
minute. Does anyone have any objection to either of those points, or do you want to bring up a different point?
I would like to bring up another. Well, actually, I want to ask a question to you, Jen.
Okay.
So, in your life experience as of this time, um, would you get married? And number two, if you were to get married, do you think you would do things differently? And what would you do differently that you think from yourself that maybe it would be better if I took this approach?
I would say I'm going to share the clock with you. I would say, first of all, find a man who doesn't suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. That's what I
That part.
Good luck.
That part.
Wow. Jen
would.
over here preaching. You got people saying amen. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do that. I would do
So
that.
nobody like Donovan Sharp, huh?
Right?
Right. I would do that differently. And also I love, I love the romantic idea of marriage, but right now at this particular time, it's not a need or want that I have, in this section of my life. Will that change in 5 years? Will that change in 10 years? I don't know. I still love the idea of getting married and flowers and all, but right now it's not something that I need right now at this phase right now, to answer your question.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's what's up.
Can I share, since we still on the clock? The only part I disagree with Jen about is the part where the need part, because we are I do believe in, as a woman, I am meant to be that helpmate for that man. So I do believe in that part of need part. I believe that that's what we were created to be, the opposite sex, as human beings, that the man needs the woman for certain things, and the woman needs the man for certain things, when you're talking about the institution of marriage. So I do believe in that part of it, because your needs should always outweigh your wants. Your wants is something that you can do without, but your need, like, could you really do without a man? As a heterosexual woman in society, I don't think, for that reason alone, I would say, and I love the institution of marriage. And even at my age and having been married before for 10 years, I definitely would consider getting married again if I found the right mate, and we were on one accord with things, and he wanted to share those same things, and we can build a happy life for the latter years of our life. Absolutely, I would definitely do it again.
I'm gonna try to share the clock with you. I do agree with you 100%. I said I ain't have a man. I said I ain't have a ring yet.
No, but you said you didn't need you said you didn't need one. I heard need.
Yeah,
and I think that's smart.
Yeah.
I don't need. No, I meant like I don't need marriage, but I do need a man. Let's be clear.
Oh, okay.
I do very much want and need a man. I'm very much like you said. I enjoy being a helpmate. I enjoy. Vaughn, is that you?
Yeah, I was saying something, but I'm
okay.
listening.
I enjoy being a helpmate. I enjoy very much being a partner. I do need and want a man in my life. I just haven't done. I'm not needing to have the official rings and the document signed. That's what I meant.
Okay. Clear that up.
Okay.
I hope it's clear. Okay, do we have any other objections now that we've cleared some things up?
I think Vaughn wanted to jump in, right?
We have, guys, wait, I'm sorry. Short and sweet. These shows go by so fast because they're so damn good. I'm going to throw up the link one last time, but we literally have 10 minutes left. If anybody else on the panel wants to object, or if you want to jump on really quickly from the chat box and object with one of us, or you just want to type in who you agree with right now, Frank or Jen, even though I don't think we even disagreeing. Anybody want to add anything to that, Frank? You was talking back there.
No, I felt like Vaughn had an objection, and Vaughn wanted to jump in.
Well, I just wanted to say that I just don't believe that marriage is played out in this country. I believe that it's something that a lot of people take seriously, and and a lot of people look forward to. So I just think sometimes, basically, the majority of society, because they think one way, it's like they kind of negate the way that it should be, And I just believe in teaching, even my son, I believe in teaching him good morals and good values. And even if I haven't always done what I say, at the same time, I want him to know the difference between what's right and what's correct and what's incorrect, And I could expound on it more, but I know the time is less, and you guys got me worried about this clock now. So.
Yeah, that's what we want.
You gotta make your points.
It's all good. You get used to it, Brother Vaughn. We appreciate you.
I plan to get used to it, and I'm going to master the clock. I just haven't done it yet, people. I haven't done it yet.
You will get there, I promise.
I want quick shout out. Somebody in the chat shooting a shot. Keith Nelson, Jen, when you marry me. Keith, shoot the shot.
I am.
Might get that ring, Jen.
Yeah.
I am off the market.
Might get that ring.
Thank you, though. Thank you kindly, sir. Thank you kindly. I wanted to add to what Vaughn said. I think what a lot of us do is because we have bad experiences, we automatically pass that down to our kids, consciously or subconsciously, because we're divorced or didn't have good relationships. And I think it's important to give your child a choice, whether you're religious or not, and tell them the good and the bad, the pitfalls,
Exactly.
et cetera, et cetera. Because I think a lot of people are jaded, and with social media, a lot of people are sharing how jaded they are, and our kids are on these
Red
machines.
pill.
Right. The
Red
kids,
pill.
right. The kids
Yeah,
are
I
on.
don't like
Red
that. I
pill.
don't like the red pill.
So we have to be, you know what I mean, the other side of what they're constantly seeing online, because we can't be with them all the time. So we have to put that seed in their head. No, it's not all doom and gloom. No, not everybody's bad.
No, it's not.
Everybody's
It's
love
not.
forever. Right?
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, there's a right way and there's an incorrect way, and I think we've gotten away from that.
Hmm.
Okay, is anybody else? Kano J, you keep asking what my sign is. I am Capricorn. I hope that helps.
Capricorn.
Okay, Frank, would you like to add anything, Sinner?
I just wish I don't want marriage to be played out. It's on life support. Really, it's the same thing. Attitudes are changing. We do need each other.
Lovely.
It is a personal decision whether or not folks decide they want to get married or not. But in order, especially in the Black community now, I'll sort of put on my
Not work.
Black man cap. A Black man cap is like this. Our community, in order for it, I feel like Kevin Samuels is on point with this. He says, and he talks about how if we're going to reclaim our community, it needs to be from a family standpoint. We need to be able to get together, have these families, raise these kids in the proper way, and build the community in that way. I feel like that's proper, and that if we continue to have this mentality that we don't really need each other and we're not necessarily trying to get married, then how on earth will we grow stronger as a community? So there are reasons why I think we hopefully can turn this around.
Okay.
I
I
agree.
agree.
I agree with that.
Do you have anything before we go?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, let's help promote it, right? Let's help promote it to our children, and even our grandchildren when we get older and have them. And, I think that it takes things like that to pass down from generation to generation. If we want to see change, it have to start with us. We're the older generation. And it's just like you're saying, if you want to see police brutality change or laws change, you have to get out there and get involved. We have to encourage, what? If you want to see, better policing, have you ever thought about becoming a police, in your communities and things of that nature? So if you want to see change, you have to encourage change from generation to generation. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Okay, thank you. Mike, you want to take us out with your thoughts?
Sure, sure. Just to piggyback off of
Say
Frank's
about that.
point, I do
Thank
agree that it takes a village to raise a nation. And, I remember years ago when I used to live in Brooklyn, New York, and that's exactly how it was. Like, when you lived on a certain block, everybody took care of each other. And if trouble came in the neighborhood, you got backed up. If you did something bad, you know, you were corrected. Simple as, you know what I mean? And I think over the years, because of, laws and lifestyle, that it has shifted the whole mindset and the whole thinking, unfortunately. And it's obviously, taken a turn. I don't want to say for the worse, but it's taken a turn that we we need to try to get out of, rather than to make excuses for.
Thank you for
I
that.
agree.
I totally agree. Vaughn,
Yes. Did I kick
it's your
myself?
2 minutes before we depart.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to all of this technology and stuff, and I kicked myself off. And thank
It's
you for
okay.
putting me back on.
No worries. What do you have to say before we go?
Well, I want to just say that I appreciate the show and I like the way you guys are bouncing off of each other. Everything has been positive, Brother Frank. You know, I admire your station and your show and Jim. I've always liked you. I know that you know you've had some little situations that have happened, but at the same time, I really like your stance as a woman, and so I would just like to continue to hear this type of dialogue. I would
Subscribe,
like to hear
subscribe,
would like to
subscribe.
hear this back and forth between you all. I'm enjoying it.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna bring it. I got to get some wins now. I'm bringing it next time.
All right, guys. So we are at the end of the hour again. It was amazing and it goes by so fast. Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of all of you jumping from Frank's page to mine. Please subscribe. We are doing this again tomorrow.
Woo!
Tomorrow. We're doing this again. First on Frank's
Oh,
page and then on my page. We're going to have some really good subjects. So y'all better come with
wow,
it.
cool.
Come ready to talk. I love seeing you guys backstage. I'd love to see your beautiful faces as well. If you feel like being on a screen, it'd be nice. If not, I understand. But thank you so much for joining us on Objections. Please check our pages because we're going to set timers and schedule our shows for tomorrow. Come ready with your notes and your objections. And don't forget the timer. You got 2 minutes. All right, guys. Good night. Have an amazing rest of
Yeah,
the
I'll have to get
evening.
better at that.
And
This
we
was
will,
All
awesome.
right, Frank. You got
yes.
to redeem yourself tomorrow, Frank.
I got to bring it.
And I'll be better with the timer too. I'll be better with the timer.
Yay. And you
Thanks,
had
guys.
fun, Bo.
I had fun. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Salud.
Salud.
So
How cool is that? Yay.